Mortal Engines, Part 1, Chapter 10, The 13th Floor Elevator. It rained that night on London, but by first light the sky was as clear and pale as still water, and the smoke from the city's engines rose straight up into the windless air. Wet decks shone silver in the sunrise, and all the banners of Tier 1 hung limp and still against their flagpoles. It was a fine spring morning, the morning that Valentine had been hoping for and Catherine had been dreading. It was perfect flying weather. Although it was so early, crowds had gathered all along the edge of Tier 1 to watch the 13th floor elevator lift off. As Gench drove Catherine and her father over to the airquay, she saw that Circle Park was crowded too. It looked as if the whole of High London had come to cheer Valentine on his way. None of them knew where he was going, of course, but as London sped eastward, the city's rumour mills had been grinding night and day. Everyone was sure that Valentine's expedition was connected with some huge prize that the Lord Mayor hoped to catch out in the central hunting ground. Temporary stands had been erected for the counselling guilds, and, when she and Dog had wished father goodbye in the bustling shadows of the hangar, Catherine went to take her place with the historians, squeezed between Chudley Pomeroy and Dr. Argengarth. All around her stood the great and good of London, the sober black robes of Father's Guild, and the purple of the Guild of Merchants, sombre navigators in their neat green tunics, and a row of engineers, robed and hooded in white rubber, looking like novelty erasers. Even Magnus Crome had risen to the occasion, and the Lord Mayor's ancient chain of office hung gleaming around his thin neck. Catherine wished they had all just stayed at home. It was difficult saying goodbye to someone when you were part of a great cheering mob, all waving flags and blowing kisses. She stroked Dog's knobbly head and told him, "Look, there's Father going up the gangplank now. They'll start the engines in a moment." "I just hope nothing goes wrong," muttered Dr. Argengarth. "One hears stories about these airships suddenly going off bang, for no reason." "Perhaps we should stand a little further back," suggested Miss Plim, the museum's twittery curator of furniture. "Nonsense," Catherine told them crossly. "Nothing is going to go wrong." "Yes, do shut up, Argengarth, you silly old coot," agreed Chudley Pomeroy, surprising her. "Never fear, Miss Valentine. Your father has the finest airship and the best pilot in the world. Nothing can go wrong." Catherine smiled gratefully at him, but she kept her fingers crossed just the same, and Dog caught something of her mood and started to whimper softly. From inside the hangar came the sound of hatches slamming shut and the rattle of boarding ladders being dragged clear. An expectant hush fell over the stands. Along the tier's edge, High London held its breath. Then, as the band struck up Rule Londinium, Valentine's ground crew began dragging the 13th floor elevator out into the sunlight. A sleek black dart whose armoured envelope shone like silk. On the open platform at the stern of the control gondola, Valentine stood, waving. He saluted the ground crew and the flag-decked stands, and then smiled straight at Catherine, picking her face out of all the others without a moment's hesitation. She waved back frantically, and the crowd cheered themselves hoarse as the 13th floor elevator's engine pods swivelled into the take-off position. The ground crew cast off the mooring hawsers, the propellers began to turn, and blizzards of confetti eddied into the downdrafts as the huge machine lifted into the air. Some apprentice historians spread out a banner reading "Happy Valentine's Day," and the cheers went on as if the crowds thought it was their love alone which was keeping the explorer airborne. "Valentine! Valentine!" But Valentine took no notice of the noise or the flags. He stood, watching Catherine, one hand raised in farewell, until the airship was so high and far away that she could not make him out any more. At last, when the elevator was just a speck in the eastern sky and the stands were emptying, she wiped her tears away, took Dog's lead, and turned to go home. She was already missing her father, but she had a plan now. While he was away, she would make her own inquiries and find out who that mysterious girl had been, and why she scared him so.